Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Today we have to understand about the key steps to being a successful MBA applicant. That's the topic for the day. And as you all know, venturing into MBA degree program is by no means a small step. The decision itself comes with a great deal of commitment and expectations towards growth. And although it takes time, effort, and resilience, the MBA program comes with an array of benefits which can vary for different people, from acquiring an advanced skill set, networking, career growth, new career paths, and most importantly, the return on investments. The benefits of management education is at the end of the day enormous. While many factors facilitate this successful transformation, GMAT continues to stand as one of the most integral components of this journey. To give you a complete clarity about how you can make your management admissions journey successful, and by giving you the right steps to carry your score plateau to take you to a 700 plus, we have Manya's finest experts today, Shilpi Talwar and Ram Kumar. Good evening. Hi.
Hello,
I'd like
good
to brief. Hi, Ram. I'd like to brief a little about both of them. Our first expert, Shilpi Talwar, is a seasoned study abroad admission expert with over 8 years of experience who has passionately facilitated the journeys of thousands of students of the universities in the universities of their choice. As an advisor, she has simplified the process and handholded her journey through all twists and turns of their decision making. She is, in fact, one of our most coveted experts with a proven track record of sending students to top ranked universities in US, UK, Canada, and Europe. So
thank you so much, Rupali, for such a warm welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining in today. And next we have Ram Kumar. He's the academic head of Manya Review. He's the heart, brain, and soul behind the formidable Manya academic team today. With over 20 years of experience behind him in education and test prep, and having taken the GMAT himself multiple times and scored 99 percentile repeatedly, he knows every aspect of your GMAT preparations in depth and the areas students struggle most with. So welcome, Ram. It's a pleasure having both of you today.
Thank you, Rupali. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, so just starting off with all the questions that we've gathered from students as well. My first question would go out to Shilpi. I think the most important question for any MBA student when it comes to MBA is whether I should take it or I should not take it, or rather, why should I take MBA program in the very first place? What would be your opinion about it?
Definitely, Rupali. It's one of the important questions every graduate student asks himself or herself, that when should I do it? Should I even do it or not? And what to do, what not to do. So here are a few pointers I would like to highlight for a student who wants to, who is probably in the same situation, thinking these questions, that why an international MBA degree is important. First and foremost, it's definitely going to help them acquire professional life skills from studying with students from diverse nationality. Up until now, they have been studying with students within India, with India. So the cultural diversity or the education system in terms of the ways different countries teach their students is something which has been common up until now. But then when you are coming from a different educational background and you are going to put in one classroom and being taught one thing, there are going to be separate point of views because the education system is different. Everybody has been brought up in a different way, and there is a lot of skill learning which comes along with it because it's an MBA program. You learn from other people. Exposure to different business cultures from different countries gives an edge to international work environments, definitely, because if you will be working, because let's just say you are a graduate in India and you start looking out for an employment within India itself, your work environment is only going to be restricted to Indian work ethics or Indian work environments. Wherein if you are at an international level, you definitely explore yourself, you learn about different people, different work areas, how different countries look at different problems, so solving techniques and everything. So definitely it also gives you an edge over other applicants. Great awareness of the global market, gain to excessive alumni network. You will get an holistic overview of the business world with a deep understanding, which helps you discover things quick advancement in the career. That's a very, very big reason most of the students actually go for an MBA program, because they want that quick jump or that quick advancement in the career, which probably working for 2-3 years won't get them. But then a 2 years MBA program from a good business school will definitely give that required jump in the career, maybe which they are facing at this point. Enhance earning potential, that's a no-brainer, I guess. Boost in international job prospects, which definitely comes along with the overseas education. If you are a student who's also looking for PR possibilities, and if you're planning to probably move destinations and you're probably planning to settle in different destinations, that along comes with few destinations, let's just say like Canada or Australia, or for that matter. Return on investment as compared to India, again, that's a no-brainer, I feel, because of the dollar rate or the currency of whatever we are here, the currency as compared to if you're going to US or Australia. So the return on investment is definitely higher than what we invest. And wherein most of the Indian business school cost somewhat similar to what an overseas business school would ideally cost. And definitely a change in lifestyle for the generations to come, because once you move countries and once you are in that level wherein you have been taught in a way, you are let's just say you're probably settled, definitely you are giving a better lifestyle and a better quality of education for your future generations. So I feel these are few 10-11 important pointers for everybody who wants to have all of these things. Then I'd say it's a very good thing to think it through and go for an international MBA program. So yeah.
Excellent. I think even I would carry a lot of points with me the next time any MBA student I come across. That was very helpful. When we talk about MBA, it usually is a general program, right? And students consider taking up some specializations as well. So are there any particular specializations that they look at which you have seen while guiding them?
Yes, definitely. So yes, Rupali, what you said, that MBA specialization is probably generic, but then I feel that is something which used to happen long time back, wherein as and when the education systems have been advanced, universities have also started coming up with different specialization, because there has been a huge demand in different career prospects or different students asking for different specialities in terms of MBA program. So here are a few ideologies and few ideas in which I can share for what are the general specializations which are really, really high in demand at this point. First one is the general management, obviously, which is great for developing all around business effective arsenal. So if you are a person who wants to get an idea of each and everything, probably then you are going to brainstorm in what career field you want to, work. Then I'd say general management is something which you want to go for it. Then the second most in demand is international business, all-time favorite of any other person. So if you're a person who aims to work abroad, align business goals across borders, all-round popular specialization. So if you're a person who wants to deal with businesses internationally from your country to different one, or majorly working around business internationally, and with all the brands coming in India, I feel international business is something which is here to stay for a very, very long time. Then another one is strategic management. It prepares you for the long-term business planning and backup planning, because a lot of organizations are getting very woke about, having a backup plan in case of anything goes wrong. That's when a strategic manager comes in, wherein what kind of long-term business investments are needs to be made, or what kind of backup which needs to be planned if something goes wrong. So these are the people who will be able to help. Then MBA in finance, it's majorly suitable for people who want to get into a banking industry or finance industry. It's suitable for bankers, financial controllers, CFOs, or finance managers. Then again, marketing, which is again a very, very hot favorite of most of the students, which focuses on businesses that rely on promoting products and services, which I feel is happening round the clock every single time. MBA in entrepreneurship, this is something which I'd not say is probably new, but then I'd say is something students have also started going for, because many students now want to have their own, because India being a country of startups, I would say a lot of students want to do MBA because they want to have a startup later, and general management honestly doesn't help them a lot. So universities started offering an MBA in entrepreneurship, which is solely based on having your own startup ideas. So if you have a plan, or if your main goal is not to probably work for some time, but to have a startup in the long run, an MBA in entrepreneurship is something which suits the best. Then operations management, this is ideal for people who are in charge of optimizing productions and processes and majorly on the back end part of it. Then MBA IT, this is again, which is really favorite of most of the IT students who are coming from technical background or want to have that management level of, positioning in their organization, but then they don't want to leave the IT sector also because that's what the industry they want to work in. Then it prepares you to do business in the technology sector. That's an MBA in IT. And then I think consulting has been heard for a very, very long time, and it's as old as MBA International Business or MBA General Management. They all go hand in hand. And consulting is a really, really high paying sector. So I would say it's a well-played specialization that develops your expertise in various variety of sectors. So any sector which you choose, you can do consulting in that. So I would say these are the few specialization to answer your question, Rupali. I think that would probably clear your doubt of MBA is just not purely management, I guess.
Absolutely. That's a 360-degree view, I would say. So thank you so much. I think I could relate a lot of companies while we were talking about it, whether it be in finance, whether it be in consulting, the Boston Consultancy Group. So there were many examples that were just striking me right away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent one. So according to the GMAT data that we were reading a few days back, which is quite popular these days, more students are now considering other management master courses besides the traditional MBA that we used to go for. What insights would you have to give the students in this perspective?
Yes, definitely. The data have been changing. So just an overview, 43% of the students actually go for full-time 2 years MBA program. And I'd say many students actually have started opting for less than 1 year of MBA programs because they just want to get it done, get that level of education from a top rank universities, in that case, countries like UK, which offer you an MBA program for 1 year. And then you do it from give a GMAT, get a good score, do it from a really top rank university, and you're done in less than 1 year, and you've already have a quality of education in your pocket. But then sometimes not every student has, because I think there's a very huge misconception because I would say because of the education system which we have been brought up with in India, most of the MBA schools do not require any kind of work experience to pursue the program, wherein abroad it's vice versa. If you want to study in a top rank university, you have to have an average of 3 years of experience. If not 3, then at least 2.5 years of work experience. And sometimes few universities even ask for a managerial level of work experience. So let's just say if you are a fresher and you are just gotten into a job, and after 3 years, you can't be at a managerial level looking at the way things work around in our country. So then the shift generally has gone to another management courses wherein students do not want to wait out too many years to study abroad, because obviously I think it's very common when you get into that employment zone, it's very difficult to come out of it and study. So they probably take a sabbatical for 1 or 2 years and then they get done with their master's program. Many students have started opting for not MBA if in case they're not eligible. They've started opting for courses like probably PG diplomas, which are postgraduate diplomas. And these PG diplomas are as per the industry demands to make you ready for that one particular job which you're looking for. These are majorly offered by Canada, then followed by a master's in finance, a master's in management, then a master's in analytics. Analytics is something which has been booming left, right, and center. Everybody wants to get into either data or business. We have seen commerce students coming to us. I've seen a lot of students from different backgrounds coming to me and saying that we want to go to business analytics. So I'd say, yes, the shift has been, to other other specializations, I would say. But then wherein the department still remains management and the requirements still remain the same. Either it's the eligibility in terms of work experience or not in terms of work experience. So I think to answer your question, yes, students have been opting for it and it is definitely in demand. Yes.
Excellent. I think that data backed up information makes it very clear for our viewers today. And when it comes to doing an MBA, there are certain factors that would help a candidate determine the right time, the right path, and the requirement for pursuing a management education. Can you just enlighten us on those steps or those factors?
Yes, definitely. So, what are the basic? Let's just take USA as a country, and I think when we cover USA, we are covering all the other countries, because whatever USA does and wants, I've generally seen other countries definitely, if not follow in that same year, they follow that in 1 or 2 years. So we have taken the most important country, and then all the things apply to the rest of the things. So, what is the general duration of an MBA? The general duration in USA for an MBA lasts for 21 months. Now, this is not an exact figure for every business school, because we have more than 5,000 universities and colleges combined over there. So, this is just an average figure of the students of the business schools, which are chosen by most of the students from India. So the average duration is 21 months. It can be sometimes, if the students are very specific, it can be sometimes less than that as well. But this is the general one. It can be reduced also if you are not taking any gaps, and if you're completing your credits very soon, it can be reduced. So few universities offer first 1-year programs as well. Now, what are the standardized tests? GMAT being very, very important as an examination. The students who are not aware of a GMAT, it's a management test which is required, something very similar to what we give in India, which is CAT. And then we have TOEFL, which is test of English as a foreign language. This examination is given because our first language is not English in our country. So we have to prove our proficiency in the examination. Another I would say, if you are a student who finds GRE easier than GMAT and IELTS easier than TOEFL, then you're most welcome to give those examinations as well. The acceptability of a GRE score is equivalent, because GRE scores can be converted to GMAT scores if required by any business school. And then again, IELTS and TOEFL are both English language examination, so it's either or. Earlier, the difference between IELTS and TOEFL used to be that IELTS was a paper-based examination and TOEFL was a computer-based, but now both of them being computer-based tests as well, either or is definitely fine. You can take whatever floats your boat. Then what are the degree requirements? Very important, I'd say, for USA as a destination, which is a 4 years of bachelor's degree. I know it is sometimes becomes a little bit of a problem for few students, but then if you are a student with NAC A institution in India, I'd say your acceptance should not be a problem. There are few other steps which can be taken to look around this 4 years of education. But then if you're a student with 4 years of bachelor's, then not a problem at all for you. Some schools accept 3 years too. Exactly as I mentioned, with trial networking is always recommended, which means we will have to speak to the university on some parameters. And if they accept us from NAC A, it'd be good. Minimum experience, as I said, 2.5 years, and the average experience is 5 years. So looking at that, as I mentioned, average experience being average classroom experience. So you could be an applicant with, let's just say, 2 years, but then understand at the same point, there are applicants who are applying for the same program with 5 years, 6 years, 7 years also. So a student who probably is in your classroom would be approximately 26 or 27 years of age, or 28, I'd say the 28 to 29 is the average age of an MBA program abroad. Wherein you being a 21-year-old going for an MBA program would not suit the classroom. I'd say the study material and everything, you won't be able to relate that much. And it's more of a case study kind of scenario as well. So it's always better to gain some quality experience and then, go for it. Another one is the expenditure. The expenditure for 1 year's expense for an MBA program is 28 to 55 lakhs. Now, this includes your tuition fees and living expense for first year, but it will go as low as 25 to 28. In fact, I'd say it's not even 25, it's definitely 28 to 30 lakhs. And now this is for most of the business schools. But then if you're planning to go for M7 business schools, which are like the top business schools, it's definitely going to be above 50 lakhs is just going to be the tuition fees. So, yeah. Another factor what you mentioned was the timelines, Rupali. So I would say these are the few timelines which are mentioned here. March to September. So March to September is something which I'm talking a year prior. So right now we are starting with March in few days. And I'd say if you are a student who's planning to go for an MBA program next year, which is fall of 2024, March this year till this year, September is the timeline for you to give your tests, which is your GMAT or GRE or IELTS or whatever you want to give. And this is not for this year, this is for next year I'm talking. Once we generally say May to June would be the time that we should be done with your examination, so that from May to September, you can give time to shortlist your universities. Because a very important factor in MBA is the deadlines. Now, deadlines are still going on for this year MBA programs, but then we have to understand the classes are almost full. They have rounds of deadline for a reason. They open early applications for a reason. That means they start taking students in lots. So first lot, second lot, third lot. At this point, I would say 80% of the classroom is already full. So they're just waiting for better quality applicants. And if you're a student with, let's just say 750 GMAT, right time for you would have been back in September, October to make an application, because the deadlines of round 1 are September and October. Round 2 is November, December. Round 3 is January, February, March. Round 3 is all never recommended. That's the last round. But then round 1 and round 2 are still fine to go forward. So an early application process is highly, highly recommended for an MBA program. Now, once you have a decision, obviously, if you're going to apply in the month of October, universities are going to give you a decision by December or January. And probably by this point, you would know where you're going, because you already would have you'd be done with your interviews. Another thing, probably, I'm not sure the students attending are aware or not, that MBA programs do have interviews. So faculty will first assess you on the basis of your entry requirements. If you meet those, then there's going to be a second round of assessment. That is, they're going to invite you for an interview. Once you're through with that interview process, then only they go forward and give you a decision whether you have been selected or not. And once you decide, December to April would be the time to get started with your visa and all of those stuff. December is the month the decisions start coming in, and they go until February or March. And then from March to July, I think you can start working around your finances and your visas and everything. And then July, because students starts flying in from the month of July, because MBA classes start in the month of August or September. And you have to be there at least 10 days prior to settle yourself and explore and everything, and then get started. So I think this is a little idea about things. Now, just another idea about round 1 applications of few business schools is mentioned here. For example, like Oxford, University of Oxford is there, which is in the month of September, it was there. Round 2 was 13th of October last year. INSEAD is 6th of September. Harvard was 7th of September. Wharton was 8th. So you can say that most of these deadlines started in the month of September only, and round 2 was in the month of October. Sometimes it goes till November or January, depending. But then round 1 is always September, October. So yeah, Rupali, I think to answer your question, if this is, I think it was suitable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the interview part also plays a very crucial role. I think many students don't ignore it and see it in a similar light. That was very informative. I would say, who should apply for R1 now that we are talking about R1 application deadlines?
Yeah, so definitely not everybody is ready for a R1 application, which is the round 1 to help students understand better. Round 1 is R1, what we generally call. So who is I would say an ideal applicant for a round 1 application? These are the students who already have their GMAT score. Now, GMAT score is not just a GMAT score, definitely a satisfactory GMAT score as compared to the universities which you are aiming to apply for. Then your CV should be in place, your profile should be built. There should be no factor wherein you would be thinking that, okay, I'm missing this thing in my profile, or I'm missing that thing in my profile. Probably I'll apply a month later because my promotion is pending and everything. If all of those things are not there on your CV, then probably you are not the right applicant for R1. Everything which you're putting on your CV should be done at that point, and then you are a ready R1 applicant. You should have already started writing your essays in the month of, I would say, July or August, so you can start sending in your applications by September. So you should start early, because writing essay is some, for an MBA program, I'd say I think we've seen a lot of students struggling with those. So it's a lot of to and fro which happens between the advisor, between the editor and the student. So because you're idly putting yourself and your profile on paper based on few questions the university has asked, so it needs to be written very strategically and very smartly, I would say. Supervisors are ready to provide online recommendations. So definitely we need to take recommendations from the teachers or from your, in this case, mostly we prefer professional recommendations. And yes, then I'd say if all of these things are in place, and definitely your GPA is really good, then this would be the ideal timeline to get started with the applications for students with R1. Applicants from competitive applicant pools may get 5% advantage of applying in R1, as all seats are vacant. Now, what this means is that if you're a student who's applying in round 1, there would be an additional preference, because let's just say that the classroom takes only 100 students. That means the whole classroom is vacant right now, and you're just trying to process an early application so that you can get selected. So your chances already are increased 5% to get an admit from the university, in addition to you being eligible on other various factors. The closer you are to round 2, the number of applications are going to increase and the number of seats are going to decrease. So the closer you are to the deadlines, the less chances would be there to, get an offer letter. IT engineers from India, CAs from India, and audit and taxation. These are few of the competitive profiles which end up generally getting accepted from the universities. Now, these are the few typical schools which are being targeted in round 1. Wharton Business School, Kellogg Business School, Chicago Booth. These are so M7 business schools in US, and then UCLA, UC Berkeley, Michigan Ross, NYU. In Europe, we have INSEAD, HEC Paris, then we have London Business School. Then if you are a person who's not really looking for abroad but wants to have a quality of education in India, then you have got ISB. So don't forget, our Indian business schools also have rounds of deadlines. Like ISB also will have round 1, round 2. During the same timeline, we are applying for US. So we also follow, apart from the IIMs, obviously, but then all the other, like ISB definitely has a round 1 in September. So if we are looking for India or abroad, or if you're a student who's looking for an MBA program from a really good business school, and if you are a person of management, which I'd say at any manager needs to do, is planning. And you really need to plan your MBA applications as well. So yeah. So I think to answer this question, Rupali, these are the few things I'd like to highlight, that these are the few students who end up going to similar business schools, and these are the profiles the students go with.
Absolutely. And a lot of Manya students have been a part of all of these, I see, from our admits. And your students as well, I've seen them going in. So who else we should ask for? I think that's the perfect thing. I would say, I think you've given us much clarity about the requirements, the benefits, the programs. And this is probably the question that everybody's been waiting for, that what constitutes a complete application? What factors to be kept in mind?
Yes, there are a lot of things I need to, probably talk about here. Now, what are the things which are there in the application components? Definitely the resume, the essays, LORs, transcripts, test scores, financial documents. Financial documents definitely come in much later. But then what else is there? I've been talking about these factors, but then in depth, let me just explain a few things. Now, when we say, I just said that we need to, write essays very smartly and very strategically. What universities are looking at? Are they really looking at us praising ourselves that I've done this, I've got a 90%, I've got a good CGPA, I've been working with Deloitte for 3 years, take me in. This is not, generally ends up happening for an MBA program, wherein they are looking for your personality traits, because a good manager only has particular management is not something which can be taught. That is something which is an inbuilt personality, and this is what universities are looking and trying to find out from your SOP or from your essay. One, an attitude of continuous learning. If you're a person who's continuously learning, definitely it's a very good skill to highlight in your application in such a way that you have been learning this and that, and this was your takeaways, this was your learning. So you have to integrate it very smartly and play with your words, and deliver that kind of conception to the university that this is what I am. Interpersonal skills, teamwork, demonstrated interest, that you should definitely say why I'm coming to you. We cannot say to every university that I want to come to you. Definitely universities would know that. So why this university, why MBA, why MBA right now, where do we see ourselves after the completion of the MBA? They want to see leadership, not only in terms of a work experience, but then situations wherein you were not a leader, but then definitely you owned up and you have shown leadership skills, because a leader is something who takes up responsibility not even when asked to do so. So that's a born leader. So I'd say these are the situations wherein university wants to see things about you. Appreciation of diversity, multicultural tolerance, because definitely if you are a person who's going to study abroad, you have to be a very person with an open mind, and definitely you should be able to work with people from different cultures and different environments. Social responsibility, so it's just not that work, they want to see you do everything. So doing anything at your level, probably giving an hour on the weekends for an NGO, anything which you have been doing for the society, which helps. This is something which what few of the personality takes, in universities look at. Adaptability and perseverance. Now, these are not something that all of these things have to be incorporated. This is something which is an example. There are 100 different, factors universities judge students on. These are a few ideas of how an MBA application or these things have to be looked at. Now, just an idea about what is important and how much level. So I've been saying this is important, that is important, but not everything can be important 100%, I think. So what is very important, what is less important, and what makes 100% application for an MBA program? So starting with your GMAT, which is actually the first step towards your MBA program, your GMAT's total score has 16% of weightage in your application. So, and not just your GMAT's total score, but your con score also has weightage in your application. So your GMAT and your con score has 16 plus 6% of your weightage in your total application. Then your essay question, which is as equivalent to your GMAT score, is 15%. So your 15% and 16 and 6%, these are the three major, components which are there in the application. Then your admission interview is 12%. So let's just say you have covered all of these things and you have come to a decision, and the university has made a decision 80% that they want you. The remaining is your 12%, whether they're going to decide whether they're going to take you in or not. So if your interview goes wrong, that 12% was the deciding factor. Your undergraduate GPAs has 10% weightage. Your recommendations have 8%. Your employer's brand, definitely not working with just anybody and everybody. Your employer's brand also has some kind of weightage. Then your undergraduate college, yes, the university which you studied from, it also has a lot of weightage to give. And your extracurricular activities. So these are the few deciding parameters which we have seen over the years of students who have been accepted. And these have been the major, criteria the students have been worked upon. So to sum it up, I would say your GMAT, your essay questions, your undergraduate GPA, and your interview are the four very big major, and then followed by your recommendations. So these are the four very big major, things which create a very, very important and very, very strong application.
And
Now,
I see that also that is approximately 49%. If you can just move on
yes,
to the last slide, 49% of your factors
yes,
can, including this, can be influenced by how you process your applications in terms of essay questions, your admission interview. So there's a major chunk that goes into it.
yes, it's a very important chunk. Your essay questions are 15%. It's a very big percentage. Looking at it, and if you are just writing anything, then obviously you're not
your admission
15%.
interview, your GMAT score, all total constitutes of 49%. That's
exactly. So, and that I would say that's almost half of the application. So if you have done and if you have kept all of these things in mind properly, that's half battle won. I would say that if these things just go on point with proper planning and proper strategic planning, you already are there. And obviously the remaining factors have a lot of influences, and then that's just not one person, deciding on your application. There are a set of people who collectively come together and decide whether they want to give you an admit or not. But then we have to put our best foot forward. We can't just...
Irrespective of what the student has done in terms of the GPAs and recommendations, this 49% can be a game changer. So I would ask them to focus on these at this given point.
This is something which is a factor which can be changed. Definitely your undergraduate college can't be changed. Your GPA cannot be changed. Your employer's brand cannot be changed. Now you cannot think, okay, if you're working with somebody, now you cannot say, okay, my employer is not good enough. My employer is not Big Four. I'm not working with EY, or I'm not working with Deloitte for that matter. I won't get an admit. It doesn't work that way. You have another 50% to work on if you can't work on that 50%. So yes, rightly said, Rupali, these things can be changed and it's in our own hands, definitely. So moving on to the different perspective, now how to write those essays and those letter recommendations which ideally do get us an admit, and what should be our major criteria of doing these things. First and foremost, when an editor is given to you, there is probably a brainstorming session, which is there. The editor at our end understands the skills and the leadership achievements which the student has, and they try and understand, what are the things which can be highlighted in your profile, what are the accomplishments which have been taken by the student, application strategy, which demonstrates interests, the focus on the question behind the question. So the questions of these schools are very general. So the question can be as general as, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But then you don't have to say, where I see myself having a business, but then, or having my own startup. But then these are general. You have to understand what the university wants to see. How will you get there? How this MBA program is actually going to help you achieve that goal after 5 years. If you want to have a startup, might as well just invest that money in your startup only. Why to spend lakhs in your business, in this MBA program? So this is the question behind the question, which you have to understand, that what is the psyche of the university trying to get the answer out of us. So their questions, they are also very played very smartly. Now, what are the recommendations letter strategy? Who you should be taking a recommendation from? There are sometimes students who are working in their own business. So for them, sometimes taking a recommendation, from their own people, or from, probably I've seen students wherein a student has been working with his father for 3 years or 4 years, and now he's like, my father won't give me a recommendation. It becomes quite biased, which is quite understandable. But then when you work, so these are the few ideas. When you are employed, you can take a recommendation from your immediate supervisor. You can take a recommendation, probably if you've changed your employment, you can change your recommendation or take a recommendation from your former supervisor. If you do not have a manager and it's a client-based job, you can take it from one of your big clients or the clients you have serviced the most. Or if none of those areas fit you, you can always take it from your senior colleague. So any person who has been kind of a mentor, or who has seen you work, is something which you can take it from. If you're self-employed, if not family business, but you have started your own business soon after you graduated, you can always take it from your client, from your vendor, from your mentor, because obviously any student who's a fresh graduate has a startup would always have a mentor because you can't do all of those things being a 21 or a 22-year-old. Kudos to you if you can, but then you always need a mentor, and then you definitely need an auditor as well. So you can take it from any of these people. Now, family business, if you have a family business, then you can take it from your client. Again, you can take it from your vendor, you can take it from your auditor, or you can take it from your mentor. So the application is something which is, we have to look at our own application with the eyes of the university. So if you're looking at that, then definitely a lot of things are going to get streamlined. Now, identification and articulation strategy. What are the career goals? As I said that, you can't write this or you can't write that in your career goals. So your career goals are very important. When they say career goals, they don't just want to listen, what do you want to do after the completion of the course? They want to see your short-term career goals and your long-term career goals as well. So your short-term means where you're going to see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years. So soon after you graduate, probably 1 year would be there for you to, explore and settle and see what you like and what you don't like. Because very less percentage of students end up getting the exact same job in like the first, first employment after they graduate. Many students change 1 or 2 employments. So, and the long-term goal, which is in the next 10 to 15 years. So you don't have to answer that after 3 years, I see myself like that. And after 15 years, you can always say that my short-term goal is to do this. My short-term goal, long-term goal is to do that. We don't have to define the number of years, but then university also wants to see how much far-sighted are you, because you're going for an MBA program. I've been saying this a lot. So they want to see if you are a true manager, because if you're a true manager, you would start managing your life even 3, 4, 5 years ahead of it. So that's what they want to see in your application also. Because let's just face it, MBA and education this day is a very big investment. We are doing, and if you're doing an investment as a manager and as a person, as a leader, you would definitely look out for a return on investment as well. That return on investment comes through your career. So university also wants to see these things in your application as well. Your career goals should be definitely linked to your past experiences, be linked to your skills. If not, and if you're changing fields, definitely has to be linked to the desired program. You can't be going for an MBA in marketing and asking for a career in consulting. So everything has to be very much linked. Bridging the gap is extremely important while discussing your career goal. What you have been doing in the past, how you're going to bridge your gap from this particular program, what do you want to do in the future? Everything revolves around you, who's the applicant. Everything revolves around that university, what they want. So it's basically playing very smartly with what the university wants to hear and linking it to our application. So yeah, these are, and I'd still say it's a very small chunk of it, but then I think the students attending would still get an idea of what an application is and just a basic idea of how things would be.
Absolutely. I would say now, last question that many students looking for, like you've rightly said, that it's one of the most expensive things or one of the most appropriate, like pricey investments you'll make in terms of your career. I believe that wholeheartedly. So do students get scholarships while they're applying for MBA?
Yes, definitely, Rupali. I have seen my students getting scholarships for MBA program. I had a student once who got 100% scholarship on his MBA program, but then needless to say, his GMAT was 780. He had 8 years of experience in the IT sector. He was already at a very high-end level. He got 100% scholarship from the university, including his living expense. And come on, we're talking about 8 years of experience, and definitely he was from a very good engineering school. I don't remember his engineering school, but I do remember his score and his experience. So without any doubt, I would say if you are a student with good application, scholarship is another thing which is definitely going to fall into your lap along with your offer letter. So scholarship consideration is something which comes automatically. You don't have to make a separate application. Definitely there are factors in which you can do so, but then if university is willing, they are going to give it to you automatically, because every student is considered for a scholarship automatically on the basis of that. The main deciding factors definitely is your GMAT, your percentage, performance in your bachelor's, and your experience. As I mentioned, these three are very, very important. In your scholarship application, your essays and everything don't play a part, because you are only considered for a scholarship once you've got a decision, which is a positive outcome. So that thing is already out of it. So they are not even worried about your essays. They are worried about all of these things, that how much, because when the university is giving you a scholarship, university is investing their money in you instead of you making an investment. Because so university is investing in you, so they would consider all the important factors, and then they're going to decide how much they're going to give. Recently, for this year fall session as well, I have a student, she has got 3 to 4 offer letters, and she has got scholarship from all the university. In fact, she got a scholarship from UCLA as well. But obviously her scholarship in UCLA was lesser, and we went to another university which was a higher percentage of scholarship. For her, finances was a big thing, but then she definitely got it in, and her GMAT was, I think, 730 or 740. So yes, definitely scholarships are there. And then there are different types of scholarship. We have internal scholarship, which is definitely given by the university automatically, and then we've got external scholarship, which we can apply from different bodies. There are a lot of Indian bodies as well which do offer scholarships. Like we have a Dhirubhai Ambani scholarship, which is specifically for Stanford students only. So this is by the Ambani group in, with tie-up for Stanford applicants only. And by that I mean Stanford offer holders. And then they do definitely sponsor that. We have the Chevening scholarship for all the students who go to UK. Chevening scholarship is there. Then we have another one which is INLAX, which is only for Oxford students who are going for a program at Oxford University. INLAX is a foundation which has a tie-up with Oxford. So you apply for a scholarship with INLAX only if you have an offer letter from them, and that's 100% paid scholarship. So there are endless resources if you are willing, but then definitely nobody's gonna invest their money in us if our profile is not strong enough. And the first step I would say for that is GMAT. So yes, Rupali, to answer your question.
Right. We have a question from a panelist who from a student in here. The name is K Verma, right? So do you provide career counseling services also, is the first question. In extension with it, the student plans to give a GMAT this year, and they want to know an ideal time in which they should apply for universities for MBA. So if you could just sum it up, because I think they've missed some part of the session.
Yes, we do. So hi, we do give counseling services for MBA programs. We do give coachings for GMAT as well. So I'd say we help you with each and every aspect. If you're looking for a fall 2024, right now should be the right time for you to at least start preparing. And if you want coachings for GMAT and everything, this should be the right time. Your application process, I would say, ideally should start by June or July. You should be done with your examinations by June and July, so that we can start putting out applications in the month of September or October. And we can keep from July, August, other 2 months, we can keep for your application preparation, your essays and everything. Because I assume if you're going for an MBA, you would be already a working professional. So you won't be able to give time to your application every single day. You would have a time limitation. You would be working on weekends. So I'd say 2 months is good enough time for you to work around all of those things. And if you want any further information, there would be our contact details by this session. You can definitely get in touch with us, and we would be able to help you. And if you want, we can do a counseling session for you as well.
Absolutely. That was wonderful, Shruti. Thank you so much. Now, since GMAT was something that we all were revolving around throughout this conversation, let us get back Ram into the picture.
Yeah.
So
Ram,
talk
about the elephant in the room, which is GMAT.
Totally.
Yeah. I'll just stop my presentation here to let Ram share his part, and I think that would be helpful for him to navigate through. Over to you, Ram.
Okay. Thank you, Shilpi.
Excellent.
So I've got 10 minutes to 7.
I understand. That's how exactly these webinars happen. We run out of time with all the information that we're trying to put across. So of many factors that you've spoken about, one thing that has continuously stood out was GMAT. And a great GMAT score can highly influence an admit. And Ram, where students have to start when it comes to GMAT? Can you please guide us, an overview about it?
Sure. As Shilpi pointed out, almost 60% of the weightage goes to GMAT. I think it is better to start from scratch. So I would want to take you quickly through the structure of the GMAT, where it has got 4 main sections. And one is the argument essay section. So we've got 30 minutes for that, and followed by integrated reasoning section, which revolves around data. So students are supposed to, drill the data and then answer the questions. Again, 30 minutes for that section. So there's a break of 8 minutes after these two, and comes the quantitative section, where there are 31 questions and given 62 minutes. So if you see what are the topics that are being tested in the quantitative section, very basics. Okay, so I would say algebra, arithmetic, geometry, some word problems, that's it. And when it comes to verbal, there are 36 questions, and then you're given 65 minutes. So between quant and verbal, another 8-minute break is given. So here there are 3 major question types that are being tested, which are reading comprehension, of course, everyone knows about it, critical reasoning, and sentence correction as well. So overall, the duration of GMAT test is 3 hours and 7 minutes, excluding the breaks. I'll just take you through the sectional score distribution. So AWA is scored in the scale of 0 to 6, whereas integrated reasoning is scored at a scale of 1 to 8. And then quant and verbal, they are scaled from 6 to 51. So these quant and the verbal sections are put together to get a composite score of, again, in a scale of 200 to 800, which I think everybody is aware of this. So every GMAT test taker should actually identify his order of test taking. And this cannot be tested on the test day. So this has to be done well ahead in the beginning of the course. So GMAT primarily gives 3 orders. One is the one that we have seen in the first slide, AWA with integrated reasoning, followed by a break, then quant, a break, and verbal. And order 2 is, some people may want to start with a verbal, then this would be the ideal order: verbal, quant, and IR and AWA. And the last one is a quant, verbal, IR, and AWA. So this is about the overall structure, Rupali.
Absolutely. So I think that ascertaining that in the beginning itself, which order suits you the most, would be very helpful for a student to align their preparations. So I think there's a misconception as well when it comes to GMAT, that it's way too difficult to crack, and a student reaches a plateau and it becomes a mission impossible for the student many a time. So what is your take on that, since you've coached so many students over these years?
All right. Okay, my first question to you all guys: is swimming hard? I mean, most people would say, and the statistics also say, that almost 30% would answer a yes to this question. And it's not about knowing swimming. How many of you can actually are ready for the swimming competition? Then I may have just 1% of the entire, India would answering a yes to this, isn't it? Also, if I ask you, learning how to play a keyboard, is it a day's task? Definitely not. There's a long marathon that has to be there. Okay. Similarly, is GMAT really too hard? No, not at all. Is it doable? Yes, very much. Preparation and pacing is a key. Well, what is a test? As we have seen in the earlier slides, It tests the critical reasoning skills, reading comprehension skills, and the sentence correction. It tests about the grammar, all right? And in quant, as I said, 4 major topics. And most important thing is it tests your ability to think logically about the math concept. It's not just the direct math. You need math skills, but you need to, logically understand and solve the problem and get to the answer. That's more important here. It's not direct math. So now tell me, is GMAT really going to be hard? I think what we have seen as part of the GMAT quantum verbal sections, the question types or the topics, they revolve around an 8th to 10th grade, syllabus. All right. So a GMAT comprehensive course should ideally cover all the concepts tested for GMAT and the strategies that would help you to crack the above question types. So here, there's one important thing. All of you should unlearn your conventional methods and start to adapt some time-tested techniques, because here the game is about the time. So you cannot win the time unless you sort of adapt yourself to some strategies and techniques that are really going to help you in time management. Okay, so you must have heard me about talking about strategies and techniques, because techniques do 2 major things. One is, it ensures that you get the questions right, and it also ensures that you solve the question in less time. That's more important. So people might get the question right given all the time in the world, but that doesn't happen in GMAT, right? So in order to improve your score on GMAT, focused study is crucial. It is essential to frame a routine, get a detailed study plan, and stick to the plan. Just doing the following, half of the game will be won. For example, prepare a schedule that would stretch for about 2 to 3 months, even 5 to 6, because GMAT preparation, some may not be able to prepare within 2 or 3 months. So it is okay to stretch for about 5 to 6 months. You cannot cram, especially when you are looking for a 750 plus or 700 plus. It's not going to work out at all. You got to spend at least an hour, or so every day. All right. The schedule should have some specific goals, such as work on harder data sufficiency problems in math, or practice some assumption questions in verbal. So consistency is the key. Stick to the schedule as much as possible. Do not hesitate to seek help from an expert. Time is everything. You cannot spend an eternity preparing for the GMAT. It is not required. So please seek guidance as per your requirement. Rupali?
Absolutely. So from a test taker, I have a doubt that I'm currently working. What is the ideal time when I should take this exam? Also, they have a question that the weekend quant section, and if there's any specific program that you offer for quants.
Or is this a question from our participants?
Yes.
Oh, are they asking, is there any specific course for quant alone? Yes, we do have. Yes, students can enroll only for quant if they are not from the engineering background. Mostly those students would opt for it. So we have a 15-hour course. So again, not everything or not entire thing prepared. I mean, for GMAT can be completed in 15 hours. Sometimes it may take a little more time, maybe 20 hours. You have to stretch, okay? But definitely we have a course that takes care of basic math. So then the techniques and strategies, then of course, all the tests, mock tests. So, I mean, you can be ascertain that, we are ready to help with you preparing for the quant.
Also, they have this question, what is the ideal time that they should take this exam in?
Well, I think it all depends on the deadlines, I would say. So I'm not too sure, if we have time for, because as Shilpi was explaining, the round 2 is also over. We are left with round 3. And then still, if you are starting a preparation right now, it may definitely take 2 to 3 months. I'm assuming that you're good in verbal and you need to spend some time for quant. So definitely 2 to 3 months is required. And there was a point, Shilpi pointed out that GMAT quant score has its own weightage. So it is better to have.
That was about 6% out of 6%. The total 16%, which was for your GMAT. Yeah.
Yeah. So you cannot cram again the math if you feel that you're weak. So you have to start a little bit of basics, maybe for about 2-3 weeks, then get into the course and then practice the mocks, and then you should be ready.
So taking my learning from Shilpi as well for the round 1 deadlines in September, October, if you want to target for fall 24, I think you should be done by your exams by May or June. So you may take assistance in all the sections that you're weak in, also take in whatever mock tests that are available in order to be very sure of your preparations, because there's not much time. So moving on to my next question, which would be that what are the right things that a test taker has to do to ensure their right outcomes? Is this something like a perfect GMAT test taker? Who's a perfect GMAT test taker?
Well, if you ask me, do we have, or is there a perfect GMAT test taker? My answer would be a straight no. And you don't have to be a perfect test taker. Only thing, we have an option that there is a perfect score. Okay. So how many of them really score a perfect 800 in GMAT? It's 1 in 10,000. All right. So moreover, even if you get a 800 or you get a 760, both the scores are leveled at a percentile of 99. So, I mean, if you really are, sort of ambitious that I want to get an 800, probably you can prepare for that. But otherwise, a 760 is the top 1 percentile. So absolutely, you can work towards it. So in order to get to the top 1 percentile, you really need not worry about getting again a perfect score on quant. You must have seen 51 is the highest score in quant and 51 for verbal. Rather, you have to look for ways of combination of quant and verbal. I think there was one student who was looking for a quant only sessions in Manya. So this person, though I know GMAT quant is sort of weighted at 6% in the overall application, but still this person can score a 45 in quant and maybe 48 in verbal. That would sort of take care of that 760, can reach almost about 760. Similarly, vice versa. So if you get a 50 or 51 in quant and then maybe a 44, 45, which is already a 99 percentile for verbal, would actually take to a 760, which is again 99 percentile, top 1 percentile. Okay. So when it comes to materials, Rupali, you have to use the authentic materials. So, of course, the official GMAT prep tops the list, and Manya, the Princeton Review, definitely has done a lot of research, and so that would be ideal, material again for a course, a GMAT course especially. And certain things about test taking, as far as possible, do not take practice tests at home, because the test condition at home, even if there's no one to disturb you at home, you still are not into that simulated environment. Okay. So you must take all the practice tests at a study lab, maybe a library nearby, or feel free to take it from our centers. So that would give you a test score which is closer, which would be closer to your actual, test. So again, when it comes to practicing tests, you should not be, having some snacks right in front of you and, take some long breaks or so. That's not going to work out. So that's the reason at home is not the right, place to practice the test. Okay.
Absolutely. So I think when the academic head tells you how to go about it, you must follow it. These are some things that students absolutely crave for, to get these right pieces of advice And that's why probably cricketers also practice in a setup where they actually absorb how it's going to come. So it's very important. So what are the most common mistakes that a student makes which impacts the scoring? Or are there any most overlooked factors that have a very big impact? So can you please enlighten us on that?
Sure. All right. Um, I would say 30 to 35%, that's 1/3 of people who practice for GMAT, they miss out on reviewing their mistakes after they have taken the test. That's very, very important. You cannot just keep practicing the test without learning from your mistakes. Also, keep an error log, okay, for all your mistakes. It's a sheer wastage of time to move on without learning from your mistake. As I said earlier, time is everything. So only if you work out on your mistake and see how much time you have spent on that particular question, how can you reduce the time, it all matters. So reviewing the test is very, very, very important. So one thing when you are reviewing, don't be afraid of your weak areas, because you're not going to take the test immediately after taking one practice test or a couple of practice tests. You're going to work with or get guidance from an expert. That's what you're all going to do, right? So, for example, if you're weak in a reading comprehension question, so what you have to do is just don't hesitate to learn the basic strategy again. So everybody, make mistakes and you have to correct. So start from the beginning and see how you can fix things. Okay, that's very important. So one other thing is, if you want to ace the GMAT, especially you're looking for a 700 plus or 750 plus, you cannot leave any question type. In higher secondary courses, that is when we were in 11th or 12th, I remember, certain topics I can ignore. I can still score a centum. It used to be like that earlier. Okay, I don't think it's anywhere practiced now. So here in GMAT, if you are going to ignore a question type just because, I don't like reading, so reading comprehension is a nightmare, that's not going to help. You have to invest time, get the guidance, practice. I am sure you will improve. As I asked you, the very first question, do you know to swim? I don't know, but if you give it a practice, definitely you can swim, though may not be ready for a competition, but you learn swimming. So that's how the initial stages are going to be. So reading, yes, you will get guidance from us. So we will take you through, right from the beginning till the level you're expecting. Yes, Rupal.
So many students that we've seen perform excellently in their mock tests, right? But on the test day, these performances do not translate. So why does that happen?
Yes. So there are so many don'ts that students should think about. So what happens is, they take tests at odd times. For example, working professionals, they get back to home maybe around 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. and just because their trainer has told that they have to submit the scores by the next day, they should not be taking the test at odd times. So take the test at the same time during the day as your actual GMAT test. That is, for example, you booked a morning slot, so try taking all the mock tests in the morning. So we're not going to take the test every day, so leave the working days, go for the weekend. So Sunday you must be free, take the test on Sunday. Okay, and again, don't take longer breaks, that's very bad. So you have to stick to what actually GMAT gives you. All right, and you cannot pause the test in between, like let me take verbal today, quant tomorrow. That's not the right way of practicing. This is not going to give you the score. All right. One important thing is, most of the test providers or the test prep companies, they provide tests with additional time apart from the time that's usually for students with accommodation. So a normal person should not be taking those accommodations. Okay, they should stick to the time for each section. It's very, very important. The timer will be there, okay? It's just that, it cannot take additional time.
Right.
Yes, Rupal.
So I think that brings us to simulation. I think if I again go through this slide, it tells you how important it was in the first place. And since I think you have taken the test yourself multiple times and taught thousands of students, what inputs would you give to the students who are embarking their GMAT test prep journey today?
Yes. So, I mean, when you come to me, okay, so I want to prepare for GMAT test, then I would recommend, yes, we are ready to help you, but you may not be ready within a week or two, okay? So there is a lot of effort that you have to put in. So that's the most important thing. So you plan for preparation of GMAT well ahead. That's important. So don't come in the last minute just because, my deadline is in September and you come in August and give us just 1 month or half a month. It's not going to work, okay? So, so you have to plan very well. At the same time, when you are taking tests, you should, as I said earlier, you should be taking the full length test. Breaking the test is not going to help you at all. So once you have learned the basics, you have learned the techniques, and you have started taking tests, take only the full length test. Okay, don't break it. Now, I think most of the other points I've already covered, so I don't want to get back to each and every point. Rather, I would want to give some of the, I would say, tips for the test day or the day before. For example, you should not be practicing a full length test or an arduous practice the day before the test, because the day before the test, you have to keep it light, because the test day is the following day and maybe in the morning. So you cannot take a lot of stress that would hugely impact the following day. Okay, keep it light. Probably you can go through some of the maths formulae or some, verbal basic approaches. These are the things you should be doing. So you can even watch a feel-good movie the night before the GMAT test. That would also, keep your anxiety, your nervousness low. It's very important, though it may look like, oh, why should I watch movie? I have an exam tomorrow. No, it's okay. You've practiced so much, and this one night is not going to change completely. All right. So again, a couple of students, in spite of warning them that they should check their passport, they should be checking whether it is valid. Okay, so these things, some of them miss out. Some of them carry a photocopy of passport. So these are actual happening. So we've seen a few students doing this. Never do that. So carry your original passport. It has to be valid for the next 6 months. And also carry the printed copy of your appointment letter, just in case if your mobile battery is down or you're not able to show the appointment letter on the gadget. And another important thing which we have seen again in few students, it's more about discipline. When you are planning to do MBA, you have to be more disciplined, and it has to start from GMAT preparation. Okay. Also, reaching to the test center. You cannot reach the test center late, because they might just forfeit your exam fee and they will send you back. So reach the test center an hour before. If it's a weekday, you know about traffic. Okay, so traffic rules would be too much. So it's plan and see if you can, go to the test center 1 hour earlier, because there are quite a number of formalities that are done. You will be checked, thoroughly. You'll be given keys, lockers, and everything. So you will have to, you need time. So then you sort of sit for about 5-10 minutes. Then you can get into the testing room, and then they will put you into the, cubicle and ask you to take the test. So plan it very well. All right. Again, during the test, don't be skeptical on your performance. You might see a few easy questions spread across the test. That doesn't mean that you have done the previous questions wrong or you have done badly, because there are, GMAT has experimental questions. Okay, please just focus on the test. You should not be judging yourself. Oh my God, I have done very bad in my math, and I don't think I will do well in verbal also. So I'm going to just, keep it, the test itself is going wrong, so I'm going to quit this. No, don't take such, actions. So don't, assume things during the test. Just keep it in a flow. I know that there will be a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiety that will be there, but just keep focusing on the test. That's very important. And there are some myths that performance in one section will affect the other section. No, not at all. You do well or bad in math, that would be revolving around only math. It will not affect your verbal section. Okay. So, and the final, my suggestion would be make use of those breaks I was showing you. As I was talking about this anxiety and the stress, these breaks would actually take away those anxieties and the stress. Okay. So if there is an 8-minute break, please get up and get out of from the testing room, stretch out a little bit and see if you can re-energize. I mean, you can carry juice or maybe sandwiches, which you can bite for about a couple of minutes. And then, so please make use of these breaks. These are, I know, my advice, and this would really help. And when a student completes his course, these are the advices or suggestions we give, for the test day and the day before.
So you've finally laid out all the tips that you've had multiple times during giving this GMAT exam. I think I'm through with it. I wish I had somebody like you during my school times who would advise my parents to watch a movie a night before. And maybe with the kind of preparations you make the students do, that's exactly the tip of advice that you'd, given for us. So finally, I would also like to ask Shilpi about her recommendations in respect to the admissions. Shilpi, do we have you here?
Yes, Rupali, I'm here.
Yes. So the same question I would ask in respect to, if I look at the admissions, that as an expert, what critical recommendations would you give candidates who are considering their GMAT education journey today?
So a lot of good things mentioned by Ram that, I also actually was feeling the same, that I wish my parents have also given me that kind of advice to keep it light. But then I was also feeling that I'm going for my 10th standard boards, because these were the things which my parents generally said, that don't take any tension, but study hard. So it was always very difficult to balance. As we are done with the GMAT part, my recommendation for the students is something to start early. There is never any harm. And this is something which is a very important piece of advice, because starting early gives you a liberty, because you really don't know what kind of things are coming your way in the future regarding your work life as well. Because I have seen students wherein they haven't been, I'm sure Ram also must have, seen those kind of students wherein they wouldn't have been able to contribute as much time because some project came their way and everything, and the students end up not giving a very much quality of application. So I'd say starting early is the key. And definitely if things fall according to the timeline, everything should be just enough. And even if you will not be able to give that timeline, you will at least be tension free that you're done with the major examinations. So I would say starting early is, it's never too early. It's always good to be, this thing. So, yeah.
The stitch in time says 9, totally.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to the end of this expert session. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us today. And a big thanks to our experts, Ram and Shilpi, for the insights. Thank you very much. And we'll keep you posted for more questions coming in. And thank you very much for the evening.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.